Another great question. I'm being bombarded,
Speaking of
with
being bombarded, yes.
with videos that I need to manage my cortisol levels and all the things I need to do to get it in quotes in balance. Isn't that just
hmm
trying to reduce stress, or is there a huge impact on not losing weight because of it? This is one of the, kind of similar to what we started talking about, the like let's implant some worries that may or
Yeah.
may not be necessary.
Yeah. So I think this is also a good question because cortisol is I haven't heard actually had it I haven't heard it brought up in quite some time. Actually, look, I want you all to understand that Annie and I have been in this industry even before we started this company, we're both personal trainers. So we've been in this industry over a decade, each of us. I think you 2 decades. And if you have been in this industry that long, you see trends come and go, rise and fall, and it's like I know we're all living our little lives and we're getting might feel like we're getting exposed to new information, but Annie and I just see this. We just see, oh, new trend. And I so what I want to share is that cortisol was a huge, maybe 5 years ago, Annie. It was the rage. Like it was all the rage. And it seems to be cycling back right now. Right. So I just want to share that for some perspective, like zoom out perspective. Hey, this is really big about 5 years ago, and now it's coming back. Um, the problem with balancing your hormones as a term is that any science-based person would agree that this is a major red flag term. Okay, this is major wooey marketing, etc. In fact, also share that we have a company that supports us in running our Facebook ads, and when they come to us and say, your ads could perform better if you guys would do a video about balancing hormones, because I mean they're just going crazy right now. People are all over them. And we are like, no, no, we will not do that. Because it's just, I'm not going to say it's not a thing, but it's just not a thing in the way people think it's a thing. So your hormones are always changing. Okay, they're
Especially your
always,
cortisol.
especially.
It
It is
rises and falls.
Yes,
Yeah.
always, always, always. Your hormones are in flux, okay? And the diet industry takes advantage all the time of our lack of knowledge and expertise in this area. Now, I know enough to not be dangerous. And I also know that there are doctors who have studied for 8, 10, 12, 25 years hormones, okay? And so the influencer you follow, the company that started up 6 months ago does not know more about hormones than that whole segment of medicine. And if you have a true cortisol dysfunction issue, you need medical assistance immediately. Now, that's not to say that you can't be chronically stressed, right? In a very stressed state. And um, and that's also not to say, now this is a very gray area. That's also not to say that your stress levels are inhibiting fat loss, but not in the way you're being led to believe. Because this is somebody in our industry, I heard him say this over and over. If I tied you to a tree and fed you the way I wanted to feed you, you would lose weight. So, all these, your metabolism, your hormones, your this is why you aren't losing weight. If I tied you to a tree and only brought you a certain amount of food each day, you would lose weight. So and all that to say, it's not that these different types of issues like stress, like hormonal issues, or high stress levels, or different challenges in your life don't make adhering to the habits that support fat loss harder. They do. We are not a no excuses type of company at all. It's just to say that physiologically it's still possible, and what a lot of these companies are communicating to you is just a blatant lie.
Yeah.
That's all. Now, as far as helping you, I would say, as far as reducing your stress levels, I'd say for most people, like the number one thing is sleep, okay, which is difficult because when we get stressed, we sometimes have a hard time sleeping. But the number one hormone balancing hack, using that very loosely, is sleep. And then, of course, in your life, stress management has, just innumerable health benefits. Just
Yeah.
stress management, whatever that is that you need. If you need therapy, if you need coaching, if you need connection in your community, if you need to go hit up some yoga and meditation, if you need to create boundaries with certain humans that bring a lot of chaos into your life, like, whatever that is. We do a lot of stress management conversations inside Balance 365, and stress management is incredibly individual. Incredibly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, I do appreciate this question because I'd rather people ask and get some quality information than not ask and assume, right? But I think just even the way I see cortisol being discussed, it seems as though there's this belief, or they want us to believe, that it's bad and you need to like do something kind of intense or like supplement medication to manage it, right? And
Not just medicate. Well, maybe if you have a medical issue, but it's like supplements are often being sold to people and
yeah,
with no evidence, like no scientific reasoning whatsoever.
yeah, and as I said a little bit ago, I think it's really important to note that first of all, we cannot avoid all stress. Some stress in our lives is normal. Stress is actually needed to keep us engaged and like alert and surviving, right? And it's also normal that cortisol rises and falls throughout the day. It peaks, I think, shortly after waking, and then, ideally it's lower when we're trying to go to sleep, right? So
Yeah,
it's,
and when we exercise, our cortisol levels go up. Like it's just like it's just constant responsiveness.
yeah. And some of that is needed because
Yeah.
we stress. Exercise is a stress, it's a good stress, but then cortisol comes in and helps us repair our muscles following a workout. That is like some of this is good. So we don't want to just like the concept is not to just get rid of cortisol at all
Yeah.
at any point. But I do think that like this is kind of that in a bigger picture, some of those supplement conversations that we've been having, or some of those like questions about meal timing or macro counting, like if you're not doing what you can to manage your stress first, like let's start there, right?
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we're getting good sleep, that you have a stress management habit or practice. Because what I see most women, and I'm guilty of this, is we only prioritize stress management when we're feeling stressed.
Right.
And so then when we're like in the middle of the Super Bowl of stress, it's tax season for accountants, it's the end of the school year for teachers, it's launch time for us. We're like, oh my gosh, I got to like start taking care of myself, right? Well, like had we established a good stress management routine, which might include like regular exercise, a good sleep habit, time outside, journaling, all those things you already mentioned, that might help carry us through some of those stressful times of life and help us manage that stress better,
Yeah.
right? So it's like let's start there, right? And I love that she says like, isn't that just trying to reduce stress? Like for most of us, yes, it is.
Yeah.
We can get a long ways by just doing what we can to manage our stress.
I think this is a smart cookie, this woman. I can just tell by the way she worded the question. I love her skepticism. Awesome. We love to see skepticism from people.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to touch on her huge impact on not losing weight. I just want to touch on that real quick. So, one thing that I want to talk about, so energy balance, which is kind of that calories in, calories out equation, it is a simple concept that, of course, has nuance behind it. But in the end, energy balance, calories in, calories out, like works. And there's absolutely nothing that has been scientifically proven to counteract it. But it's when we talk about hormones and when you see people talking about hormones online and balancing your hormones and this, that, and the other, and you're so confused, like what is the answer? Calories in and calories were out is an equation that works, and hormones do matter. Hormones do impact the calories in and calories out kind of math And they impact it by majorly influencing your behaviors. And so if you are very stressed, it's not that the hormone inside of you needs to be balanced with this supplement or that supplement, and then you will start losing weight. Okay. It is that the stressors in your life, whether they're external or internal, are wreaking havoc on your habits. They are causing you to emotionally eat. They're keeping you up at night, which means a lack of sleep, which means cravings for carbs all the next day. Like it's just, it creates this this kind of downstream effect of more eating and, for a lot of people, less moving.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it impacts the energy balance that you're experiencing, and which can lead to weight gain.
Yep.
So there are some true hormonal issues that impact women's metabolism, for example, but you would be needing to see a doctor for those issues. They're not being cured by this personal trainer who got her certification in a weekend and now is selling you an eating protocol. They're not being cured by this supplement that has never been tested or proven and is probably full of lead. They're not. Okay, so that's it. That's kind of what I wanted to say. Can you tell I want to keep going?
Getting you all riled up over there. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Great question and great answer that we could talk a lot more about.
Yeah.
But we'll leave it at that.